Um, parasites. Anybody ever have a parasite? Someone, probably. How about a tick? No. Okay. How about an internal parasite? Probably not. Anyway, it turns out a lot of parasites do really kind of funny things. They tend to take over the host brain and make the host do what it wants so it can get transmitted. And we'll see more of this. On the left is an ant. What this is. Oh, I know. It's, yeah, something climbed up there. This is a little worm that does the same sort of thing. So, now, a lot of times they manipulate us is what they do. But like guinea worm, they don't take over your mind. It just makes you itch like crazy and you want to get in the water, and that's how it's transmitted. Because most of these things have a kind of a complicated life cycle. If you've ever looked at parasites, I mean, it's just kind of extraordinary. Let's see here. And then this cordyceps fungi. Well, why don't I go to... here's just a few more. On the upper left, there's a parasitic wasp larva that infects the spider, and it's eating the spider too. But at the very end, it causes the spider to build itself a little cocoon for the parasitic wasp larva, and then instead of the spider, growing its own little babies, it grows the parasitic wasp. Same thing with this cockroach and the jewel wasp. It makes, in all of these, and in this one, it makes the cockroach act much more conspicuous. And so the prey can eat it and pass on the parasite. And then, this is, so there's a trematode, a little worm, and it initially infects a snail, and then the next trophic level, it infects a fish. And it's a little killifish. It's I think fungulus something. Anyway, they're all over the place. And what it does is it actually downregulates serotonin and upregulates dopamine, and causes the fish to swim to the surface and swim around very conspicuously, doing whirly whoops and all this kind of stuff. And then, of course, a wading bird comes along and eats it, and the worm gets in the stomach, and that's where the last part of the cycle, and the wading bird, poops it out. So, and then the horsehair worm does similar sort of things in terms of taking over a cricket or a number of other things. And it always makes the cricket actually go seek water through mind control, like many of the others. And then this forward fly infection, it might underlie colony collapse disorder with honeybees, and it appears anyway that it infects, the larvae infect the bees, And so after that, they can't find their way back to the hive. So all kinds of parasites out there. Now, there's this parasite, Toxoplasma gondii. It's a little single-cell eukaryote. It can alternate between asexual and asexual reproduction. The definitive host is a cat. The intermediate host is a mouse. Now, it has a wide range of, actually, it infects other things, but the primary host is the cat, because that's the only way that it can actually reproduce sexually, is in the cat. And the gondii reproduce sexually only within the cat intestine. So, animals that come into contact with cat feces can become infected with gondii. For the most part, infection is really not all that serious. What happens is the immune system insists the little parasite so it can't go anywhere. And so it doesn't, it stops it from actually reproducing asexually as well. Unfortunately, just for a little bit, it gets into the brain of certain animals. And toxo, in this case, we've got rats, and so essentially it can infect a lot of intermediate hosts, but they don't actually have a decent chance of transmitting it back to a cat. So it's primarily rodents that are transmitting T. gondii back to the cat by essentially committing suicide by cat. It causes the rodents to been infected that are attracted, all of a sudden they're attracted to cat odors. In fact, apparently they want to go have sex with a cat. And so they wander out there, and of course the cat eats it, and on we go. Okay? So that's the kind of the life cycle. And now most people who've been infected with toxo, and it's not uncommon, their immune system shuts it down. But like immunocompromised individuals, like with AIDS and stuff, toxo was a big, opportunistic infection in those individuals. So to get back into the definitive host where it can actually sexually reproduce, that's the cat, it actually gets the mouse to approach cats, find cats, and get a cat to eat it. And you would think, well, it would want to avoid that, but toxo actually takes over its nervous system, and it does a number of things to do this so that the mouse actually is not acting like a normal mouse and increases the chance of transmission. This mind control, because it too affects dopamine in the brain. It actually, T. gondii carries the genes required to synthesize dopamine. So it can produce dopamine in the brain. It can infect mammalian neurons and increase dopamine levels, and may also enhance the sexual attraction pathway in mice, causing the smell of cat urine to act as an aphrodisiac. Now, you would think that this parasite would be stopped by the blood-brain barrier, but it's not. It can't travel through the cells, but it can travel through the cells, and not just between them. And so that's how it actually gets in the brain of individuals. And then, in terms of toxo, as I mentioned, it's usually not considered serious, because even if individuals are infected, it doesn't look like it causes any behavioral problems and whatnot. But now, one thing it can do, though, is that's really serious is pregnant women should not clean the cat litter. So that's one direct route, and that can cause well, usually it'll cause the fetus to have abort. So that's kind of how it was thought. The only way you could really get it was through inhaling the spores, and the worst that perhaps could happen is that you would lose your baby or something like that. Toxo is known to produce in specific behavioral changes in its intermediate hosts, which is usually a rat or a mouse. And it's considered an evolutionary adaptation to increase transmission. The cat is, of course, the definitive host and is infected by eating the intermediate host. And this was shown in a double-blind study of rats with latent toxoplasmosis, and the existence there was a significantly longer reaction time, among other things. There is some correlation in terms of correlative study between T. gondii infection and infection in people. Of course, it's correlative, but what they found is that there were personality factors between toxoplasma infection and uninfected individuals in 9 of 11 studies, and these differences were not the same for men and women. When using the Bonferroni, the personality of infected men showed low superego and higher vigilance. Thus, the men were more likely to disregard rules, were more expedient, suspicious, jealous, and dogmatic. The personality of infected women, by contrast, showed higher warmth and higher superego strength, suggesting that they were more warm-hearted, outgoing, and conscientious. I wouldn't be surprised if there's other things that are, infecting vertebrates that actually cause behavioral changes as well. Parasites